Hello, viewers. What a wonderful day to talk about dead babies. Ugh. You know what? Cut. Hello, all you out there watching today. My name is Dylan Sherman, and today we are going to be talking about ways to stop babies from dying. I'm sure you love this subject as much as I do, but if you want to skip my charming introduction and skip right to the big answer, skip ahead to this time right here. Skip to that time right there. If you're old enough to be around one, and not too senile to have forgotten already. Psst! Don't worry if you are, though. I've got you covered. Just wait. Then you probably know it's not a good idea to leave anything living in your car, except maybe like a plant or something, with all the windows and doors shut on a hot or very cold day. Now, hopefully, when you asked why, you weren't just told, "Because I said so, now do what you're told." Spoiler alert, that scenario ends in dead babies and puppies. Wait. What? You don't believe me? Really? Well, maybe you'll believe Carrie Engholm, a CEO with Dallas County Hospital in Perry, Iowa. If anyone would know a thing or two about things that can cause harm to people, you would think an executive at a hospital would know, right? Good. Now that we're on the same page, let me tell you the tragic tale of what happened one day in June of 2014.
Carrie Engholm was getting back into her life as a busy hospital executive 7 months after the birth of her daughter Claire, when, as it tends to do, life threw her a screwball. Her day was filled with running from one thing to another, from one meeting to another obligation or to another commitment, and to be able to get everything done she had to in a given day, she was used to delegating different tasks, like dropping her newborn off with a babysitter, like to her husband. But for whatever reason, on that day she forgot to. The stress and pressure of her job clearly occupied her mind that day because Carrie forgot Claire in a minivan while she rushed off to attend her meeting. The babysitter, who was expecting the child to arrive in the morning, called the Engholm home to find out where the girl was, but no one got the message until it was too late.
Well, I wasn't able to find out exactly how long poor little Claire was baking in a hot car in a parking lot getting radiated by the sun in an environment that was already passing 90 degrees Fahrenheit when the car was first parked. Carrie claims, the poor thing, that she didn't realize her fatal mistake until she got in the car to go and pick up her other child who was coincidentally already in a child care facility after her work. And remember, this poor mother was an executive in a healthcare facility. An executive, someone who generally has their stuff together and is very well organized. If this can happen to her, it can happen to anyone. You might be thinking, well, that's probably a really long time to leave anything in the car. Chocolate, crayons, it's all going to get mushed up. But the thing is, according to the source in the description of this on there, it can take as little as 15 minutes in a sealed car for children as old as 3 to die. 15 minutes! Do you really think you can go out while you're out and about doing your errands and get something done in less than 15 minutes? Try it. It can't be done. Well, I mean, maybe for some things, but for a lot of things like grocery shopping, it's definitely going to take longer than 15 minutes usually, right? Well, I would never leave my pet or pet-like child in the car. Really? Never? Come on, man. Let's be real here for a minute. Just a minute. You know you don't want to take that loud, bratty poop machine with you wherever you go, whenever you don't have to. In fact, I'm willing to bet you already have left that kid in the car unsupervised, or that yappy dog in the car unsupervised at some point. In an age where humanity is able to print out cars like they did in China using the 3D printer, why haven't we collectively been able to figure out how to stop temperature-related deaths in our cars? Why? I mean, we figured out how to warm our butts in our seats without setting our car seats on fire, and with the easy convenience of just flicking a switch or pressing a button. Ah, modern life. You know, I can't help but think that what's going on here, something is going wrong. I can't help but ask, car heat releasing mechanisms. How is this not a thing? Most cars, except convertibles maybe, but I don't count those as cars, on the road, have a roof that's designed something like this.
At the top, we have a thin layer of paint on top of a layer of metal. Now, maybe you have a sunroof set into this layer made of glass with some motor components embedded on a frame to allow it to move. Underneath this layer of metal are the electric wires that lead to your interior roof lights and to any other electrically powered components in or on your car roof. If you have a sunroof, you also more than likely will have a water collection gutter system that collects and shuttles water that slips between the side of the car roof and the side of your sunroof. If so, then just under the metal layer, you will also have pipes of some sort that shuttle water through the inside of your car and then out without getting all the important bits wet. Under these layers, you will have the cushy upholstery that marks the start of the space I call the car interior, and maybe a cloth or something under that. It's in this space, right here, where the heat collects, with nowhere easily to escape to, like the inside of an oven.
Being the kind of guy who's insatiably curious and always observing things, I've always been a bit of a science buff. Probably always will. But anyone who's had a basic education in science knows that hot fluids like airs and liquids rise, while colder, denser fluids sink in a gravity-filled environment and in an open environment usually.
But in a closed container, like the interior of a car, gases heat up and vibrate all around. But with nowhere to go, all that motion just presses against the container, increasing the pressure of the gas as the heat increases. Which is why when you open your car door in the parking lot on a hot day, you get a blast of hot air right to the face. Mostly it's due to these little guys, sun waves. They hit particles like these little dots, which then absorb the energy and start vibrating in all directions.
Some of you might really hate that. Me? I love it. It's because of all of these facts that solving the tragic problem of the car-cooked baby or pet is incredibly simple, almost beautifully simple. Let that hot air rise! But how do we go about actually achieving that goal? Well, mine is a simple, albeit multifaceted, solution. First,
Put a thermometer in the car's interior, sufficiently insulated from the actual body of the car itself, so it's accurately measuring the temperature of the interior. Wire it to the motors in the car windows and motors in the car roof, which control a little doohickey I'm about to reveal to the world in this video. Program it so that when the interior temperature reaches a certain point, the thermometer tells the motors to open the windows slightly and open the roof. Open the roof? Yes, I said open the roof. You designed the roof like this, with an outer layer of metal perforated with lots of holes so small no child could stick anything dangerous inside them. You could allow all the hot air in the car to rise up out of the car like it wants to do naturally. Immediately beneath the outer metal layer, you would have a plate of metal perforated with holes corresponding to the ones in the outer metal layer. This plate of metal would be on a track with water collection gutters, and attached to small electric motors would push and pull the metal plate a small distance to open and close the holes. Beneath this layer, you would have another metal layer with holes perforated in it, which corresponds in size and location to the outer metal layer's holes. From these holes, you could have tiny metal tubes which run down through the cushy upholstery layer and ends with an injury preventing rubber ring. Obviously, the next layers down would be the pipes and the wires sneaking between the metal tubes, and beneath that would be a cushy upholstery layer. And then, like a cloth or something, I guess.
Wow. Thanks, Dylan. That's awesome. Thanks. But right now, the smart ones out there are asking, ooh, I know. But what if it starts raining after the sensor activates? Great question.
Hook up a moisture sensor to the outer roof of the car and wire it with the car windows and motors on the roof so that when the moisture sensor gets wet and activates, it automatically closes the roof and the windows.
Obviously, if fingers or paws are stuck outside the window when the moisture sensor activates, telling the window to close, it would stop once resistance to closing was experienced. It would open slightly again, and hopefully your pet or child would have the wherewithal to jump back into the car, allowing the window to eventually close when it tries again in a few seconds. You know, you could even have a button on your car which tells the motor to activate from afar, so you could cool your car down as you walk towards it. Or you could have a button inside the car which activates it manually, just because. Okay, Mr. Smart Guy. That doesn't seem very safe. What if someone tries to steal my car or whatever's inside it by waiting for the temperature to hit a certain point so the window can open, or using some sort of heating device to get it to open manually? Ideally, the window should only open a minute amount, maybe like a centimeter at the most, just enough to have a facilitating effect on proper ventilation when the roof is opened. And when you think about it, if someone's determined enough to actually break into your car and drive off with it, or steal whatever's inside, I seriously doubt whether your window is open slightly or closed entirely. I doubt it would have any effect at all on whether or not they stole your car and your stuff. They just want your stuff. They're going to do it anyway. Well, having a bunch of holes in my roof still sounds pretty unsafe. I mean, won't that make the roof weaker and therefore worse in a car crash situation? Maybe not. The answer to that question really comes down to however the manufacturer executes this concept in the car's design, what materials the roof is actually made of, and what actually happens during the crash itself. I mean, unless your car has a roll cage built into it, those big old gaping holes in the side of the car, in the front and the back, we call windows, are just as likely to be the straw that breaks the back, so to speak, if your car gets flipped. Now, you gotta remember also, if you hit something at just the right speed, at the right height, or the right angle, your car's gonna get totaled and you're gonna be in a real deep mess and not in a good place, regardless. Besides, after hundreds of years of trial and error, car manufacturers have become pretty good at designing built-in safety features meant to protect humans from human error. Things like, seat belts, airbags, collapsible fronts and backs of the cars. These were all designed so when you or some other person has an accident behind the wheel, it doesn't have to be a fatal accident. Long story short, ultimately, this isn't my problem. I'm not an engineer or a car manufacturer. I'm just a guy trying to save babies from dying in a car. Just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. I mean, what's with all the questions anyway? I mean, do you really want to save things from dying from heat in your car? Do you? Maybe it's just me, but this seems like a pretty obvious and simple solution that would be easy to execute in new cars. Which, by the way, is what most car manufacturing companies are in the business of making and selling, which is how it would end up getting incorporated into cars. So again, I have to ask, how is this not a thing? Thank you so much for watching. So much. I hope this video got you thinking. Personally, I hope this little idea of mine ends up taking off and I can stop hearing about needless infant and small animal deaths in people's cars from the heat. That would be awesome. Although I do like making money, so if you like the video, or if you want to see what else is going on in this crazy noggin of mine, or if you want to say something to me, then do something about it. By liking this video, or subscribe, or leave a comment. I'd love to talk to you. If you got something to say it. Once again, just thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope you'll come back for the next one. Bye-bye.